You are listening to episode 274 of the Peaceful Mind Podcast. Welcome to the Peaceful Mind Podcast, a place for creating the peace of mind you need to be the best mom you are created by God to be. If you want to bring more balance, more joy, and more peace to your motherhood, this is the place for you. I'm your host, certified life coach and Catholic mom, Danielle Tino. In the name of the Father, of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, let's get started. Hello, everyone. I'm so glad you're here, and I really hope that you will enjoy this whole month of episodes that I'm calling the Expert Series. Last week, you heard from me, and today and the following weeks for the rest of the month, you are going to hear from other experts. Today, we're going to be talking about sleep. This is a subject that I haven't really honed in on the podcast, so I'm so excited to offer it for you. And it is a delightful conversation I had with Abby Wolfson. She came to me highly recommended. I had such a wonderful time talking with her and took away so many golden nuggets that I know you will too. So enjoy the episode. And without further ado, here we go. Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. I am so excited to be able to have a guest on the show today. And I am bringing on this guest because of you, because of the themes that I hear. And one of the things I hear on a constant basis is, I'm so tired, or I'm just exhausted all the time. Now, when I hear that, as my role as a coach, I'm always going to want to first distinguish, are we talking about the mental and emotional load of motherhood? And then there's a real physical aspect to it as well. And I think I'm hoping to hit both of those for you all today. And I am bringing on Abby, and I'm just going to start and let Abby introduce herself. I want you to hear from her directly to say how she became a sleep consultant, if that's exactly what she calls herself. And I'm just going to hand it over. Abby, will you please introduce yourself to my audience?
Yeah, thank you so much, Danielle. Yeah, so my name is Abby Wolfson. I have been working as a child sleep consultant for more than 5 years. I've worked with more than 500 families now. And what drew me to becoming a sleep consultant is I'm actually a pediatric nurse practitioner as well, and I was a NICU nurse. So I figured I knew everything about child sleep, right? Until I had my first child and discovered that actually I knew nothing. And so I did a deep dive into the literature, despite being extremely exhausted, and then started laying the foundation for sleep training with my daughter, who at the time was very, very young, still newborn, but she was so overtired that she would just scream for hours at the end of the day. And I felt so helpless and just so surprised, right? Because I thought I was doing everything right. So I started doing all this reading. I got a schedule in place for her, and I began the foundations of great sleep with her. And to my amazement, she became like a different baby overnight. She never cried again. She was so happy. I could look at the clock and know exactly when she was going to eat, when she was going to sleep. And she just never stopped being an amazing sleeper.
Well, I'm sure all of our I know mine have already perked up hearing that, because now we're like, oh my goodness, I want all of the secrets behind this. I'm sure moms relate to what you said. I just today, literally today, and I wrote this down on my notes with you, I saw this quote in an email from one of the doctor lists I'm on. And this is what he said. He said, obsess over your sleep routine as if you're 3 years old again. Quality sleep or quality rest is your ultimate recovery tool. And I was like, first of all, I thought the timing was amazing, right? Because I have sleep on the brain talking with you today. But I just wanted to know, like, when I hear that, it sounds like, yeah, just do that. Just focus on your sleep and make it a priority, right? But why is sleep such a challenge for so many of us, Abby?
Such a great question. I think a couple different things. First of all, culturally, right? As women, as mothers, we're told achieve, 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 have everything be perfect all the time. And if we have trouble taking care of ourselves and getting the rest that we need, it's also really hard to remember that our children probably need more sleep also than our culture, our society would tell us they need. We're told, they need to have all these enrichment activities or they'll fall behind before they even start kindergarten. So I definitely think that is a big piece. And then I think the other thing is when we first have children, right? They're these tiny helpless newborns. They need a lot of sleep. They need a lot of support getting to sleep. And that is totally normal for newborn. That you feed them, you rock them, you bounce them to sleep. But at some point, often around 4 months old, that stops working as well. But many times habits have been established at that point, and it's really hard to shift to independent sleep. And in my experience, and the literature reflects this as well, the more involved a parent is with a child's sleep as the child gets older, past infancy, toddlerhood, etc., in general, the less sleep a child gets. And that can lead to really overtired children who are very anxiously attached to their parents because they're so scared of going to sleep because they don't know how to do it themselves. And so it becomes a vicious cycle of overtired, anxious children clinging to their parents when what they really need is sleep and not more attention in the middle of the night.
And if we just give that, I know that some people are like, yes, middle of the night scenario, right? So what should a person do if their child is still like waking up in the middle of the night or, still coming into their room all the time, like that scenario, because of that habit you were talking about that was formed?
Yeah. So what I like to do with children, especially if they're old enough to walk to the parents' room by themselves, for example, or to call and say, Mommy, I need help, if they're speaking in full sentences, is to come up with a plan together with the child, to give them lots of warning, to talk about like, we are a family of great sleepers. We're going to come up with a system that works for us so that the child feels empowered. They don't feel like this is being done to them. Doesn't mean that they're going to be in total agreement, but we want to let them know starting on Friday, you're going to fall asleep, for example, in your own bed with Mommy sitting next to you. And every few nights, I'm going to move a little bit further away from your bed. I'm not going to lie down with you, but I'll be there where you can see me. And then you get to a place where the parent is no longer in the room. Maybe then they switch to checking in every few minutes. And the really important thing is when the child does come to the parent's room in the middle of the night, you have to be consistent. You have to say, remember, you sleep in your bed. I will walk you back to bed. I love you. I know you can handle this. I will sit here in the same spot I sat in when you fell asleep until you fall asleep again. But I'm, again, not going to lie down with you. I'm not going to sleep with you. I'm not going to let you sleep in my bed. I'm not going to kick daddy out of the bed, whatever it is, right? Of just staying consistent with a plan to phase out that behavior, knowing that that's going to make the child feel so empowered and so confident instead of anxious and clinging.
Well, I just love that there's a mom who's listening to that who's now she's going to feel empowered on knowing what she might try this coming week to take action on, right? And that's all I can see, like you're suggesting it, or I want everyone when they're hearing, like maybe we just try something new that you haven't before. If your mind heard that and said, "Oh, that won't work for my child," right? Or I've kind of tried something like that before. So I'm happy to hear you say about empowering the child, but that's also empowering the mom too at the same time, right? So there's common sleep mistakes families are making right now, and I'm wondering if you could bring those to our attention. And thinking about families with kids across all ages, if it's teenagers not getting enough sleep, or if it's the middle school because they, again, like all the activities talking about, I have moms that expand all the ages. Now, if your children are out of the house, you might not want, they might be independent now to be able to navigate and figure out their own sleep. So you moms who are like, "Ooh, I need to help my adult child out there." But what are some of the common mistakes that in general, along the lines of any age, maybe, if that's possible to do, would you offer us that we might not be seeing now?
Yeah, the number one mistake that I see across the board is a bedtime that is too late.
Mm.
After the newborn phase, anytime after that. In general, American bedtimes skew too late. And pretty much every client I work with, the number one thing we do, first thing, move bedtime earlier. And this is true for parents too.
Oh,
Parents go to bed too late also. Um, if you have an adolescent, this might be something you need to adjust gradually, understanding that adolescents' bodies do tend to move to a later bedtime, later wake time as a normal physiological change. But even then, with our culture starting early, it's something we have to watch out for and work against. Certainly with infants, toddlers, preschoolers, school-age children, they need, in most cases, a surprisingly early bedtime. If they go to bed too late, they typically wake up too early. That is, our bodies get overtired, and then that causes people to wake up too soon.
I was just telling this is fascinating. I'm like, soaking in myself. I was just telling my husband, why am I waking up so early on the weekends when I have a chance? But that's also Friday and Saturday when I go to bed later. I don't know if I've ever seen that correlation or before. Makes
Yeah.
complete sense.
That makes so much sense, and it actually is a really helpful reminder also that consistency is
Mm.
incredibly important to sleep. That as much as, in our 20s, maybe before we had kids, we loved staying up late and then sleeping in, and it worked fine when we were 23. Um, for most ages, first, as I said, it leads to less sleep. But even if it doesn't, let's say you are able to sleep in until 10 or 12, you're going to have a really hard time falling asleep at your regular time.
Right.
Night, Monday morning rolls around, and guess what? You're exhausted. So, no
Okay.
matter what your age, consistency is incredibly important.
So I love that. So that's the number one common mistake that you see. And I wanted to then add the timing of at least when this episode's being released. I know that my listeners are thinking about the upcoming summer where your schedules will change, or you might be a little bit more lax in routine, or exactly how the days are longer. What do you say about this with that common mistake of going to bed earlier?
Yeah. So, this late bedtime is typically even more common in the summer months when, if you live in the Northern Hemisphere, the days are getting longer, the nights are really short. Maybe you're on vacation, or you just have that summer mindset, right? Of let's stop at the playground on the way home, or let's go out for ice cream after camp or school or work. And those are all such fun traditions, right? Like we want to be a little bit more relaxed. But again, I think it's helpful to keep mostly consistent because what typically happens is if you put your child to bed 2 hours later than normal, you're going to pay for it. Not just your child, but you're going to get woken up during the night or too early in the morning. And then you're going to have a really cranky child and a cranky, tired parent. And that's not fun for anybody.
Yes. Okay. I want to shift a little bit to what my main focus is always is seeing that the root cause is coming from what's going on inside your mind, your thoughts and beliefs about sleep in general, about sleep routines, about what's possible for you with whatever the circumstances of your motherhood are, what stage of life of motherhood you're in, or how many children you have, whether you work outside the home, like all those different circumstances really I want to challenge some of the beliefs and the mindset that moms have around this with sleep. So, what what beliefs, first of all, do you think that mothers have that are actually holding them back?
Yeah. So I think two. The first one is I don't have time or we don't have time to prioritize sleep.
Mhm.
And the truth is that great sleep gives you time back.
Ooh. Oh, okay, everybody. That's one of those moments where I get a little thing down my spine. Say that again, Abby.
Great sleep will actually give you time back.
Wow. Okay.
So let me explain.
Yes, tell
Number
us more.
one, if your child currently need you to be in the room for 2 hours while they fall asleep, and then they transition to falling asleep independently, well, you get those 2 hours back, right? But even for a mother who is not sleeping well, imagine now you waking up well rested and how much more you can get done in your day when your brain is feeling so amazing because you got that awesome night's sleep and you woke up full of energy and just so able to focus. It's literally night and day.
I love it. Yeah, it's definitely, I mean, in most things, so I coach on that a lot, right? That thought, I don't have enough time.
Mhm.
Which really, that's where you want to look at your relationship, right, with time. And I'm kind of hoping that people kind of question what relationship they've had with sleep before,
Mhm.
right? So, like how do you think that a mom's relationship with her own sleep, so not the children, with her own sleep, actually then impacts the culture or environment like of her family?
Yeah, well, our kids are watching us, right?
Mm.
And if our own cups aren't full, what do we have to pour into our children's cups, right?
My listeners have definitely heard that that from me before, right? Yes.
Yeah, I will admit I was listening to your podcast this morning on time management. So
Oh, okay, good.
this is making all sorts of connections for me. Yeah, and I think that when we're well rested, our time expands. Absolutely.
100%. 100%. I'm behind you on that one. Yeah. So what shift in thinking needs to happen for many parents around sleep priorities?
Yeah. So what I see is that parents believe that making their kids go to sleep is mean.
Mm.
And I'll give you an example. I just got off a sleep planning meeting with a client, and she was very worried about being, her words, cold and unresponsive to her child during the night. Now, her child is waking up every couple of hours during the night. Bedtime takes 2 hours in the evening. And what I told her is, think of sleep as like food. You would feed your child, you would offer them food, whether or not they were asking for it. Even if they told you, I'm not hungry, when you know that they're hungry, because you know more than they do. You know that they need food in order to feel great. And sleep is the same thing. And so when you're changing your boundaries around sleep from something that I'm going to help you achieve to I believe in you being able to do this on your own, you have to have that belief that this is something that is good for my child. This is something my child needs. This is something that's going to be incredibly empowering for them.
I think that's a game changer right there. I think everything could change for the positive if we opened up. And you beautifully gave the example of if they were hungry. So yeah, it shifted me a little bit. So I'm really knowing it's going to shift the listeners too. And I have to bring up a personal story that came to mind when you said that. I remember, so I'm a mom of twins. So they were my first and second. So I remember it being a priority that I got into a routine where they did sleep at the same time and were awake at the same time. And I remember being away at a friend's house, which again is travel, and I get that things can shift. And I remember hearing them, like, a little bit of the crying out, and I could feel them being like, "That's mean, you should really go pick them up and let them, like, you shouldn't let them do that." I just remember having to go to those strong thoughts of, "No, this is what's best for them and me and my family is to have them be, sleeping at the same time and up at the same time," and really kind of supporting that routine, which again wasn't perfect, and sometimes there was where they had to let them cry out, but I do remember I feeling so strong in my mindset about that, that I was able to, be able to stay focused on my ultimate goal. But I do know, I admit, like, it's hard, not only to hear other people's opinions about it, right? But to, hold true to your own belief, right? And I also want to just add that too, because if you're a mom listening and you're deciding to take actions and create a different result around sleep for your kids, like, again, I want to do a reminder that it's going to be trial and error, or once you make a decision about it, you can have days and times when you're like, oh, you know what? I am going to let them play outside a little longer than the summer light and not hold to it. I always want to stress the not being having to be perfect about it, because then it becomes rigid, right? Or then you're going into a mindset that actually then won't help you or your children. Do you see that?
Yeah, definitely. And I wanted to make a point that I think has been really helpful for my clients
Yes,
is that
please.
I found in the research that when a child has a fear, which is normal for children, right? That they're scared of the dark, they're scared of monsters, they're scared of dogs, whatever it is. That when as we as parents accommodate that anxiety. For example, a child is scared of dogs. So every time we see a dog, we take our child's hand and we cross the street to get away from the dog. The message that our child receives is mom thinks dogs are dangerous, and they actually become more afraid. And so when our children have a fear of separating at night, or a fear of the dark, or a fear of whatever it is at night, and we accommodate that fear and say, I'll stay with you so you don't have to face that fear, we actually make them more afraid. And the corollary is true too, that when we say, I know you can do this, and we let them figure it out, they get more confident and they feel proud of themselves.
And usually moms think if we let them do it on their own, they'll get more scared. But you're saying that's not actually what happens. They actually get more confident.
Correct. It doesn't happen in the first 10 minutes, of course. But yeah, and I've seen this over and over and over again. I'm remembering a family I worked with. The mom was actually an educator. Her child was 5, and he was so scared of being alone at night. He was hysterical. And they put these pictures on his wall of all the people that love him, right? And so it's part of their bedtime routine. They would say, and grandma loves me, and grandpa loves me, and best friend Bobby loves me. And from the beginning of our 2 weeks together to the end, he was saying, I'm proud of myself. I have my people that love me on my wall. I can look at them when I go to sleep. He was going to sleep independently after loving connected bedtime routine, sleeping through the night, waking up at 7 in the morning.
I love
So
this
proud.
story.
Yeah.
Okay, and then I just love that some moms might do that, might put pictures on the wall now and say, "Grandma loves me." I love it. Again, that's such a soft heart moment. And again, when you're talking, I just watch my brain see how it correlates to my life. And what popped in is, I think I told you right before I hit record on this, I just came from a doctor's visit with my mom who had broke her arm about a month ago. But the doctor came in and took the sling off and said, it's good. Like, and I watched my mom, be like, like, the doctor was like, "You can use it. I want you to use your fingers, and you can, hold your book and open things." And I watched my mom go, "But I can't." And I was like, "Mom, what's going on?" She's like, "I'm scared." Right? But I see the thing is that the way I'm looking at it is like, no, we're gonna like, there's nothing wrong, like, with being scared, and we get it, but the confidence for her that she can handle it will only come with us stop helping her, and for her trying it out herself. I just saw that building more confidence from the fear kind of correlation with that. But I digress from sleep again. Just soaking in the expert help while we're here. Okay, I'm going to move on to another question. What environmental factors, I think a lot of us are going to anticipate what you're going to say, tell us, and I want to see if I'm right or wrong because I have an idea of what I think, make the biggest difference in the quality of sleep that we have. So this is kind of not mindset. This is going out to actually, tangible things in our sleeping area or our homes, or actions that maybe you think would help us have what's hindering us from sleep quality or helping us for sleep quality.
Yeah. So the number one factor that I see is having a really dark space.
Mm. Mhm.
Darkness is so important for our brains to release naturally occurring melatonin, right? To tell our brains it's time to power down and sleep. So for young children, before they have a fear of the dark, total darkness is best. Fear of the dark usually develops around 2.5. At that point, I would suggest a red nightlight, meaning emitting red light, not blue light, not white light. As kids outgrow fear of the dark, I recommend darkness again.
Mhm.
Uh, there was an interesting study from the Journal of American Medicine that said that using your phone is actually not a problem if you stop when you're supposed to go to sleep. So using a screen in bed after lights out is not a good idea, but if it's part of your wind down routine ahead of time, not such a big deal as we previously thought. So that was super interesting.
Wow, that is for me personally, that's great news as someone who does like to watch a show at the end of, and again, just so interesting, right? That you've changed now. It's just a change of thought where I'm sure a lot of us listening were like, oh, that was the one thing I thought you were going to say, right? Is to
Mhm.
lessen the electronics. So fascinating. I like your
Yeah.
answer.
A big relief for sure for me too. I love to read on my phone before I go to sleep. I do really recommend blackout shades. And some families say, I don't want my child to be dependent on darkness. I want them to be able to sleep wherever we go. And I can totally understand that. But mindset shift. Um, that means that you're compromising everyday sleep just to protect sort of theoretical occasional sleep while you're traveling.
Right. Maybe when you're on vacation,
Right. So
right?
I'll choose to sleep badly all the time so that it doesn't feel worse when I'm on vacation. So I definitely recommend against that. They sell stick-on blackout shades. I've even used garbage bags and painter's tape, but I have to say it's almost never a problem when I travel. Most hotel rooms and most, Airbnbs or whatever, wherever you stay, do have room darkening shades. So it's not as big of an issue as parents fear.
Well, I'm totally rocking it in this area because I grew up with parents who did the blackout shades, right? And the same for, that they gave for myself. But now as an adult, like even in my room, it has really high ceilings and a window that is very high that I don't want to cover up because of the natural light. And I have taught myself, and I sleep regularly and just take it when I travel, a sleep mask.
Mhm.
And so I know we're not talking about putting that on, on a young child, but it could work for your middle school or teenage or even yourself. And it is interesting when I do tell people that a lot of them, and even my mom's one of them, but she does have the blackout shades, but it'll just be like, oh, I can't do that. I can't sleep with something on my face or eyes. And I'm like, well, initially when we try something new, sometimes we always, quote, can't do it well. But with anything, you could practice. But do you say that even though it's not the blackout shades, what is your thoughts on the mask, sleep mask? Does the same thing?
Yeah, I mean, I'm obsessed with my sleep mask.
Me
I
too.
used to think that I couldn't sleep with one either, but then I got one that's kind of made of this like memory foam material and has little cutouts over the eyes. So for some people, for myself, I found that pressure on my literal eyeballs was uncomfortable, but this is kind of like hollowed out, so there's no pressure on my eyes. It's around my eyes. And I love it, and it's also a much smaller investment than blackout shades. So I think they're brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, and look at that. Now every time I have someone who's like, "Oh, I don't like something on my eyes," or even my mom, I can be like, I'll go and say, "Well, there's a cutout one. See? I didn't know." I love it. Um, but great advice. Great advice. Okay. So the moms that are listening today, I'm always wanting um, them to not just listen and hear us, right? If you are somebody who can think about a result around sleep, whether it's yourself or your child, and you want to make a change, right? What is one change that a mom could start doing today? I mean, you've already given a couple suggestions, and if they're the same, that's fine too. Or just like implement tonight that might improve sleep for themselves, for their child, a certain age. getting into action?
Yeah, I would say move bedtime 15 minutes earlier tonight,
Okay.
buddy.
Love it. Whew, it's so funny as I watch my brain, I'm like, but I'm fine. I can do it. Um, but I think that it also resonates. Like, why am I resisting it so much to move it? And so that tells me that I probably should give it a try.
Yeah, and you know what? You don't have to commit to it forever. Try it for 3 nights and see how you feel. And if it feels amazing, great. If you think, "Ooh, I think even 15 more minutes would be great," try that. And if you hate it, then you can always go back. It's
So
15
good. Yeah, so good. Okay, what resources would you recommend that families, if they are looking for having more sleep support? You've offered some amazing suggestions today, and so thank you so much for that. But is there any other resources that, again, like how the blackout shades or the mask or anything else that we don't currently know about that can enlighten us on?
Yeah. Let's see. Some of my favorite products. My favorite book is um, Healthy Sleep Habits, Happy Child,
Okay.
um, by, I forget his first name, Weisbluth. He's like the king of child sleep. That was where I first started. It's a heavy read, but it's great, and you can skip ahead to the relevant parts based on your child's age.
Mm-hmm. Love it.
I love sleep sacks for children. I think they really help kind of set the stage for sleep of like, now we're putting on our bedtime attire. Also slows children from climbing out of the crib if you have a child who's in a crib. I love the Hatch Rest or the other Hatch products for any age from newborn through
Okay, I
adults.
don't know about these, so
Oh, Hatch is the best. It has, depending on the model that you buy, for children, I like the Hatch Rest. For adults, there's other options. It has a white noise, a night light, an okay to wake clock. You can set it from your phone so that, let's say your child is learning to not wake up so early, you can move their desired wake time a few minutes at a time. But let's say you set it for 5:30 and they woke up at 4:45, but before this they'd been waking up at 4:30. You set it for 2 minutes after they actually wake up, and then you run in and say, "Your light turned green, congratulations," because you were able to change it on your phone before you went in, so they feel like they accomplished something.
so fun.
Um, yeah, I mean, I love the Snoo for babies under 6 months, which is like a responsive smart crib. I never had it for my kid, but a lot of my clients have. I think just investing in a great mattress. You spend a third of your life in bed. Make sure that you are, getting something great for yourself and for your child so that your body wakes up feeling great. I can't underestimate the importance of a good mattress, especially for an adult whose gravitational force is pushing down so much harder on their mattress.
Yes, I had an aunt who that she sold mattresses, and she sold our family all on this amazing brand that we still buy and use today. And I remember thinking at first, those many years ago, I'm like, "Ooh, this is expensive." But it turned out to be we were just so worth it. And yeah, so I'm totally in agreement with that and love to know about these, offer my listeners some of these other things to go check out. Okay. So as we wrap up here, what final encouragement would you give to moms who feel like good sleep is like impossible for them in their current season?
Yeah. So I would say if it comes to their children's sleep, a lot of people don't tell the truth about what's happening in their home at night. And so you might think that your child is a terrible sleeper and everybody else has got it figured out. But in reality, you are not alone. There are so many families struggling with sleep at night. So try to let go of the shame and the guilt around the sleep habits that you have and know that you can make a difference in a really short amount of time.
That is so good. I love that. Abby, tell us, are you one of those resources? If a mom is listening and this is really a challenge or issue for them, do you have any like your own resources or just tell us a little bit about about that or how your coaching works or your business works, consulting.
Yeah. So I have a website where parents can come and book a consult if they want to find out more about working together. It's peacefulparentsleepcoaching.com.
Okay. And I'll have that in the show notes as well.
So that should resonate with
Yes.
the folks that follow you. I also have a blog. So I send out tips every week for families who just want to learn more about sleep. And, I just encourage parents to take it slow. This is not a crisis. This is something to take a long view on of like, we want to be a family who has great sleep habits, but we don't have to go from here to there in one night or 3 nights. When I work with families, I offer money back guarantee that the child will be sleeping through the night in 2 weeks or less. And we can go as fast or as slow as the family wants to.
Amazing. All right. So anybody who has listened to this, I feel like there's been so many golden nuggets that this is an episode you might want to listen to a second time, or at least take notes on, because I know, especially some of those mindset shifts that you offered were so helpful. Abby, thank you for coming on the podcast. Is there anything else that you want to say or share or we didn't cover?
Oh, of course. I think just believe in yourself as a loving parent and as a worthy human being who deserves great sleep for her child and for herself. And that you're going to rock this. It's going to be so great for everyone in your family.
Perfect. Couldn't have said it better myself. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast, Abby.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. As always, thank you for joining me, and may peace be with you always. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of the Peaceful Mind podcast. If you found value in today's episode, I'd be so grateful if you could subscribe and leave a review. It not only supports the podcast, but ensures you don't miss out on future episodes packed with insights and tools to create peace of mind in your busy mom life. And if you're of the Catholic faith like me or any Christian mom seeking to feel better in any area of your life and to show up more calm, connected, and confident, I can help. Become an empowered mom who knows how to bring about the changes you desire, no matter the circumstances. Whether you need one-on-one guidance to get there, prefer a group coaching program with like-minded women, or a self-study course, I've got you covered. Explore my private one-on-one packages, join my Busy to Balance group life coaching program, or delve into my signature course, Divine Time. To find out which path is right for you, let's meet and see what's the best fit. Schedule a free call with me at danielleteenel.com or send me a direct message on Facebook or Instagram at Danielle Teenel Coaching. And also, don't forget to get your copy of my book, The Cyclone Mom Method, How to Call on Your God-Given Power to Remain Calm, in Control, and Confident as a Busy Mom. Dive into the digital and bonus audio version when you go to book.danielleteenel.com/new-book. You'll find all the details in the show notes too. Until next time, peace be with you always.